Landlords are leaving Seattle over too much government regulation that gives tenants more rights than they have for their own properties, including making it impossible to evict tenants and restricting how much they can raise the rent. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's an opinion piece about one of the places that I talk about a lot, and that's Seattle, Washington. And the reason I talk about it a lot is because they have some of the most anti-landlord, anti-property rights laws that I've ever seen, okay? They really act like they don't want anyone to own a property and that you are the evil of the world that is causing all of the problems if you happen to own a property and want to rent it out for a profit. So they make it as difficult as possible. It's like they want to drive you out. Okay, they were like, hey, you know what? You're the problem. We're going to punish you. And they somehow think that this is the solution to their housing problem. Well, actually, they're making things worse. They're making it so that because less landlords and less real estate developers want to offer rental properties within the city, well, now there's going to be a housing shortage. And, you know, it seems like that would be the opposite of what they would want, because the housing shortage is what causes the affordability crisis. And, you know, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. And I feel bad for the landlords up there because a lot of them are small mom and pops, such as myself, okay? Now, I don't own any properties in a place like Seattle, but I can sympathize with the landlords who do, because they didn't know what they were getting into in a lot of cases. They didn't know that, hey, the city does not have your best interests in mind, and that there are literal socialists, people who are proud, loud and proud, to say that they are socialists and that they want basically a government takeover. They want the government to own everything and you to own nothing. They don't believe that you deserve to make a profit off of your property, and they think that you are part of the problem. They'd probably lock you up in jail if they were allowed to, but, you know, obviously they can't yet. So anyway, let's get into this article. But first, before we get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you believe that all of this government regulation is the reason for rising costs and rising rental prices within the city of Seattle? Okay? And what do you think the solution would be? My personal belief is that they need to cut the regulations. They need to cut the garbage out of all of, you know, real estate transactions. They need to get their hands out of the pot, okay? There are too many people with too many varying interests, and they need to allow the capitalist system, the open and free market, to operate, and it will self-regulate. Basically, if rental prices are too high, then they will build more housing. But if the government won't allow them to build more housing, that is what's causing the shortage. Okay, anyway, but let me get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from mynorthwest.com, and it says, gross, landlords ditching Seattle over nightmare tenants and laws. Yeah, let's get into it. Like I said before, it's an opinion piece, and I agree with a lot of the opinions that are in it. So let's get into it. Dozens of landlords handcuffed by Seattle's coddling of nightmare tenants is leading to a troubling trend. The landlords are ditching Seattle. It is so bad that people are just selling their properties and leaving in droves, landlord Charlotte Thistle told the Jason Ranch Show on AM 770 KTTH. Thistle is one of at least 600 members of the Facebook group for aggrieved landlords. Thistle's experience with her own problem tenant and conversations with others in the industry made her realize that there were widespread problems. It led to Seattle Grassroots Landlords. The organization calls itself a network of local, independent, small-scale housing providers working to support each other and to prevent the ongoing degradation of rental housing options in Seattle on its website. You know, they're working together. They're trying to push for more positive and more, you know, better treatment for landlords within the city. And, you know, that's a good thing, okay? It's a good thing to try for that, right? But I'm of the belief that it's a lost cause, you know, and I don't want to be too much of a Debbie Downer, but things are only going to get worse, okay? If things are like this right now, if you keep seeing more and more and more laws every single year being passed, Are they going to repeal those laws at some point in time? Are they going to, make less laws? Is there going to be less government action going forward? No, there's not. Okay, there's only going to be more, and it's going to stack on top of the stuff that's already been implemented. So it's going to get worse. And that's the scary part. That's the scary part. Like in my mind, I'd be like, hey, looking at the stuff that's already been implemented, not just within the city, but the entire state, right? I don't know if this is the sort of place where I want to even be a landlord. And so, yeah, I understand why people are ditching the city, but, are they still staying within the state? Because the large metropolitan areas in the state of Washington, they are kind of leading the way that the entire state is going. And so you're going to end up with the exact same sort of laws that are being passed in these cities statewide. Okay? I mean, it's inevitable. So anyway, let me continue. Thistle points to 17 new laws implemented by local lawmakers over the last several years as being part of the problem. These measures were pitched as ways to mitigate the threat of evil corporate landlords. But Thistle says they end up hurting small property owners who are trying to provide affordable housing options. She said data shows nearly 1/4 of available rental units provided by small landlords being taken off the Seattle area market. Yeah, and I've mentioned that very fact many times myself. These laws that target these, we're going to go after the corporate landlords are the bad guys. We're going to go after them, right? And so they pass some sort of law thinking, this is going to hit that corporate landlord, right? And it doesn't put the corporate landlord out of business. The corporate landlord has professional property management companies, they have lawyers, they have accountants, they have legal teams, they have a huge number of properties. So even if compliance with the new law costs them a little bit more time and money, they're able to balance it out based on the number of units they have. And they're like, okay, well, we'll figure out some other way to make up for the cost of meeting the standards of this new regulation. But what this law does hurt is the small mom and pop landlord, the one who has one, maybe two properties total, 2 units, okay? I own one single family house, or maybe you own a duplex. You live in one side and you rent out the other side, right? Now, you all of a sudden, right, you're considered the same as this corporate landlord with 20,000 units. And you don't have an accountant. You don't have a lawyer. You don't have a professional property manager. You aren't even aware of all of the new changes to the laws that have taken place. 17 new laws for landlord-tenant laws within the last several years. That's a lot of new laws. That's a lot of new stuff that you have to figure out. And it's not like they're going to send you an update flyer in the mail or anything. I mean, they change the laws all the time, and they never let landlords know. So landlords could be out of compliance right now, not even realize it until they are getting sued or they're getting fined by the city or state, okay? So yeah, it's a big deal. It really hurts these landlords, and you know what? It's not surprising to me that they are losing so many small mom and pop landlords. And why is that a bad thing? I know everybody's like, well, why does it matter if we're losing these small mom and pop landlords? Landlords are all evil. Well, the small mom and pop landlords are huge providers of the affordable housing. The affordable housing that they claim to want so bad, well, guess who is providing it? The smaller mom and pop landlords are the ones providing it, yet you're driving them out. Meanwhile, the corporate landlords are the ones who are providing the more expensive housing, the ones who raise the rent the highest, the most often, and they're the ones who are going to be staying in business after you pass all these laws. So you're only shooting yourself in the foot with all of this garbage. The eviction process has been slowly molded over the years to favor tenants, but they treat honest, good faith tenants the same as irresponsible scoundrels. It's just so bureaucratic and burdensome that it can take a year and cost $20,000 in legal fees to evict the person who's creating a serious problem, Thistle said. Policies like the COVID-19 eviction moratorium in particular harm landlords. While tenants weren't paying bills, landlords still had payments they couldn't get out of. Other policies like the winter eviction and school year eviction bans, if children are in the home, make it nearly impossible for a landlord to reclaim a property even if there are significant lease violations. Yeah, okay. Winter eviction ban. So 6 months out of the year, you can't evict anybody. But then there's also an eviction ban on during the school year. So if you have a bad tenant in your property, right, they basically only have like a 2 month window to be evicted based on stupid laws. Okay, I've talked about these laws in other videos. You can look back through my history and look up Seattle, because I'm always talking about the ridiculousness of the things that are going on in Seattle. And like this person said here, bureaucratic and burdensome process to evict the tenant, and it can cost you like 20 grand. You can't make that up when you own one property. Okay, you know how long it's going to take you to make that, make enough profit to be able to cover the cost of a 20 grand eviction. I mean, it could be years. It could be like 10 years for some landlords. I mean, that's how slim the profit margins are for a lot of rental properties. So yeah, this is a big deal. This is why landlords are getting out of the business. And I sympathize with them. I don't know what the solution is. I don't think that there is a reasonable solution within the city of Seattle. Like, you're not going to be able to go down to city council and convince them, hey, be on our side. It's just not going to happen. So you might want to consider other options.